What it going down YouTube? This the kid DC Wrestling here. We back at it once again. This is my official review of AEW's Revolution pay-per-view. This is the 2024, and pay-per-view just went off the air about a couple minutes ago. So, want to go ahead and give you guys a little quick recap and talk about the show and all that. This was a good show. I honestly thought this was a really good show. I know I haven't really been watching a lot of AEW consistently these past couple of weeks, month or two or something like that. But I thought tonight was a very, very good pay per view and a fitting end to what was overall just a legendary career of the icon Sting. We're going to go ahead. We're going to not waste any time. The show kicked off. Christian Cage retaining his TNT championship against Daniel Garcia. And honestly, I thought this was a pretty solid opener here. Daniel Garcia looked good despite losing. And it did seem like there was that moment where he was going to win, but Christian Cage retained the championship, so Christian Cage is still the TNT champion. I don't necessarily think he's going to move on after this feud with Daniel Garcia. Plus, he still got Adam Copeland to the mix, so we'll have to see what AEW goes from here. But the next match on the show was Eddie Kingston and Bryan Danielson. This was for the Continental Crown Championship, and Eddie Kingston defeated Bryan Danielson. This was actually a pretty good match between both these guys. And Bryan Danielson and Eddie Kingston showing respect to one another. They even had a little backstage segment where, continuing to show respect to one another. And I thought that was definitely a fitting end to their feud. Eddie Kingston finally getting the respect, from Bryan Danielson. And, Bryan Danielson, I saw someone say this online. I guess Bryan is never going to win a championship here in AEW. Honestly, especially with his full-time career in AEW coming to an end, he ain't winning no championship, man. Bryan Danielson, honestly, is just about, he's too selfless to where he doesn't want to win a championship when in reality he should have been a champion by now in AEW. But clearly tonight wasn't his night. Next match was an All-Star Scramble match where the winner will receive a future AEW World Championship match. We had some other wrestlers in this match, like Miro, for example, but he had gotten injured, so he wasn't going to be a part of this match. But we had Wardlow, who won the match, defeating Chris Jericho, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, Hook, Brian Cage, Magnus, and Dante Martin. It was kind of mid for me. I'm glad Wardlow got the win, and Wardlow, he's been picking up some steam recently. I watched his recent promo he's cut, so he's been getting a little bit better on the mic, it seems, which is really good. But it's like you didn't really need Chris Jericho. I saw someone online said like this was kind of their way of getting Chris Jericho on the show, which to some extension, like, it's true. Jericho honestly had no point, had no reason to be on this show, but because it's Chris Jericho, we got to find some way to get him on the show. But nevertheless, Wardlow wins, and he will face Samoa Joe, spoiler alert, probably either this week or next week, AEW Dynamite. Next week, I know, is AEW Big Business, so they're shaping up that to be a very big show. Roderick Strong defeated Orange Cassidy. He's the new AEW International Champion. I thought the match was pretty solid, and I'm glad they got the title off for Orange Cassidy. This second reign as International Champion just didn't compare to his first run as international champion, and just against, especially like you would think, like coming out of the heels of the match that he had with John Moxley, like Orange Cassidy would be looked at as somewhat of a guy who's gonna be a big name, but just his second run as the international champion just didn't have that excitement, and it just something was missing. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't have that same feeling that it did when he was during his first run. And of course, you got to build the undisputed elite up. So obviously, Roderick Strong winning here, shouldn't have been all that surprising. But I'll tell you what was surprising. Kyle O'Reilly is back in AEW, and I know earlier tonight he had a vignette, so he's making his way back to AEW. And Kyle O'Reilly suffered, obviously, a neck injury that kept him on the sidelines for what seems like forever. So it's good to see him back, man. You know, with the way that neck injury was talking, it seemed like he wasn't going to come back to AEW. So it's really good to see him back. And you know, he people said he looked like a homeless dude. Like, oh my goodness, Kyle O'Reilly looks like a homeless guy because you know he grew his hair out, his beard. People said that he looked like he hadn't slept in ages. So he did kind of look a little rough out there, appearance wise, but it's still good to see him back. Obviously, it's always good to see a wrestler come back from an injury. So it's good to see him back, but I won't surprise that people were saying he looked the way he looked tonight. The BCC took on and defeated FTR. It was a pretty good tag match. I mean, the BCC won here. And this is just to, you know, get John Moxley, Claudio over, you know, as a tag team. And hey, John Moxley's on pay-per-view as well. So, and FTR, and to an extent Claudio. So, but it was a pretty good tag match. I don't really have no real complaints with it. So, you have that. Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo for the AEW Women's World Championship. I said this 2 months ago. I said this at AEW Rolls In when Toni Storm took on Rio. As good as this character is, like this timeless Toni Storm character is probably, it probably is her best character, honestly. But she's going to town with this character. You know, you got Luther and Mariah May into the mix, which I gotta admit, Mariah May coming out as Toni Storm kind of threw us all off. And Mariah May obviously talented in her own well-being, but the thing with this gimmick with Toni Storm, it doesn't, or at least in my point of view, it doesn't necessarily translate in ring. And this just was another example. I was not feeling this match with Deonna Purrazzo at all. This felt like a bathroom break. This felt like it was one of those matches where you're just like, you can get up, come back, miss it, and not miss a thing. And, you know, with the arrival of Mercedes Moné around the corner, like 2 weeks away, it's honestly expected that if there's anyone who's definitely going to win the championship, it's going to be Mercedes Moné. You know, this is really, you know, it's good to see Deonna Purrazzo, but I do kind of feel like it's going to be one of those scenarios where a woman comes in, or a star or new signee comes in, they get a big moment, and then they just go down the card. I think Deonna Purrazzo is probably going to go down the same avenue like Tal Valkyrie is, where she's going to be now on Rampage and less on Dynamite. And, you know, you're just not, you know, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't want to go too long here because I'm already long with the video. But that's kind of how I felt about the match. But big business really picked up with this one. Will Ospreay and Konosuke Tanechika. Oh my God. Now, this was match of the night. You know, I said it in the predictions, like this was going to be match of the night. And I got to tell you, man, I mean, this match was freaking crazy. And I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you this right now, man. If Ospreay continues to have these streaks of matches, this man might end up being the entire top 10 list of the AEW matches of this year, because this was already the best AEW match of the year in my honest opinion. And no, I'm not saying it just because the match just happened. Like, I'm saying it because I mean it. And you know, Konosuke and Ospreay, man, I mean they beat the hell out of each other in this match. It was very physical, hard hitting. You know, small nitpick here. When Konosuke kicked out at 1, I was kind of I don't think he had to do that, but apparently there's this obsession with wrestlers kicking out of 1 nowadays. You know, it makes sense when people like Sting do it, but like when you see someone like, I don't know, or Roderick Strong kicking out at 1 or something, I don't know, but nonetheless, this is a great match, man, and Ospreay is definitely going to be. I'm telling you, he's going to be having these type of matches probably on a weekly basis. I mean, he's wrestling Kyle Fletcher on Dynamite, which is his United Empire stablemate, so that should be good as well. But Ospreay getting the win made sense, and, you know, it's his first real match here in AEW, but Konosuke looked good as well. Samoa Joe defeated Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland to retain the AEW World Championship. A lot of people obviously wanted Swerve to win, but heading into this, I was just like, nah, man, Joe's gonna win. I just don't see Strickland winning this match unless it was one-on-one. Maybe you run it back. You know, AEW announced later on in the show that they got a new pay-per-view, AEW Dynasty, April 21st. So we'll see what they do. But tonight was Joe's night, but this was a really good match considering they had to follow the Ospreay match. So the main event, Sting and Darby Allin and the Young Bucks. And like I said, I already know I'm a little long in this video, so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet that I possibly can. First things first, wonderful tribute to Sting. I loved it. If you saw, you saw. If you didn't see it, go check it out. They're definitely going to put it on YouTube and everything else. But I loved the highlights, the vignettes, just everything, man. The entrance, his sons, Seek and Destroy. Like, it was, you couldn't write it any other way. And, you know, I actually think having Sting and Darby go out winning rather than the Young Bucks winning was cool. Sting retires undefeated. And, you know, the Young Bucks, they can most likely win them championships back because with Sting retiring, they're obviously going to have to vacate the belt, so they're going to have to do a little tournament. So, you know, the Young Bucks are easily going to get in that tournament. But this match was freaking dope. This was all over the place. You know, you have freaking Steamboat, Flair, you know, Sting's sons. But Darby Allin, man, and I know this was Sting's night, but Jesus Christ. And what the hell was Darby thinking? Like, the dude took a swanton on glass. Real glass. And not in this case, go cry me a river, go get me a Band-Aid, because Jesus Christ, man, Darby's back was bleeding. Like, I'm like, good God, man. Like, I'm telling you, man, Darby, I don't wish ill on anybody, but I'm telling you, man, Darby's body, like, when he's 31 now, when he gets 50, good God, man, he's gonna, his body is just gonna, I don't know. Anyways, Sting and Darby Allin win. Like I said, I thought this was just a perfect way to end Sting's career, and you know, you couldn't write it any other better way. And this isn't gonna be a scenario because I don't think Sting's the type of person where he's gonna pull a Ric Flair and wrestle a few years later. Like, this ain't gonna be nothing like that. Like, I think this is Sting's true last match, and we